All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Leaders Impact Lab. And we are talking about change. And more specifically, today we're talking about the 6 conditions that successful change leaders have learned to master. So if you don't know me, my name's Melissa. I'm an executive coach and a management consultant. Joining me is Kelsey Ann, who is part of my team. How we operate and what we do every day is we help leaders such as yourselves increase their influence, lead change, and increase their team's performance as they're doing that. And if that is done well, we also have an impact on the culture. So change has been a hot topic for me, for my clients, and that is happening behind the scenes. And the topics that I usually bring to the table are the things that keep repeating. So last week, I had 4 sessions on change, leading change. 4 client sessions, 4 one-on-ones, just on leading change.
Wow.
So therefore, what's top of mind for me, and since this is a pattern that people are preoccupied with right now, that's what I'm bringing to the table. So we have been, so if we kind of like go back in time a little bit, we've been dealing with a lot of change. The pandemic, so I think as you know, in normal business, there is always change. Then we have a pandemic that hits that really throws us for a loop. Everything changes, like the whole world was flipped upside down. And the whole way we operate, the whole way we show up, the whole way we work has changed. And now we've come through that big disruption, and we're picking up the pieces. But we're picking up the pieces and we are reintegrating into a new world, a new landscape. What our employees are expecting and wanting is very different. What our clients are wanting and expecting, very different. What we want and expect out of work is very different. So change has kind of like taken on a new meaning. And the how we lead change hasn't changed, but the conditions around us has changed drastically. So it's getting us to reevaluate how we're leading change. So Kelsey Ann, give us a few words. How are you doing today? What are your thoughts on change? And maybe how have you been experiencing change as an employee?
How I've been experiencing change as an employee. Well, I think where we've kind of my role as an employee has changed in such you've asked me to set up our other team member, Sandra, to do certain tasks. And I've never really taken on like a leadership role and that kind of, but I've done, like I say that, but I've done in a different manner. Like I've done training and I've done, well, I'm educated as a teacher, but so I guess a different kind of way.
So training is something that you're familiar with, but
Right.
leadership is something that you are growing into. So that
Right.
is what I'm hearing is what is changing for you right now.
Yes.
Is that transition from just a regular employee to taking on more leadership.
Correct.
And how have you been experiencing that change internally?
It's been a ride. No, I guess I'm absorbing all of these nuggets just like everybody else because um, I think, like you said it best, although change is a constant, like that is forever a constant, that there's going to be change. We're now dealing with a lot of other circumstances on top of these changes. There's a lot of changes going on in our world that then impacts the business and how we do business. And it's impacted how we do business internally as well, to flex and bend with our clients. So I think there's been a lot of learnings from it, but it's, yeah.
All right. So for the purposes of this live training, would you mind if I use you as an example?
Sure.
Okay. You're okay with that? Feels comfortable?
Yeah.
All right. I'm not going to out you.
No.
I may put you a little bit on the spot, but we'll keep it general, but it's nice to have an example to kind of tie these ideas back to. And I will say that I have a hard stop at 10. So I'm just wanting to acknowledge that for anyone joining. Say hi, let us know that you're here. Let us know your thoughts on change and why change might be difficult. And leading change might be difficult. And if you need to hop off, you can always come back. The replay will remain as part of this group. So you can always come back and watch it again. So change is hard, and 70% of change efforts fail.
That's such a big number.
So change is not something that we have mastered. Right. And it is difficult. And why it's difficult, it's because we're humans and we're asking humans to change. And humans come with emotions. We cannot separate these emotions. So we need to be able to navigate the emotions of change. And today I want to share with you 6 really important conditions that need to be in place before you can take people along for the ride. So I want you to take out a pen, take out a piece of paper, and note these conditions and self-evaluate if these conditions are present or if you need to do something to help these conditions be established. All right, so that's part of through this training, if you engage in this training and actually do a little bit of self-reflection and work here, you're going to come out of this training with some gold nuggets that you can action. And this is why I do these live trainings every week. All right, so give yourself the gift of taking a moment to grow into your leadership and practice it. All right, so conditions for change. Number 1, the potential, and I would say / willingness of the individual and or the collective. The potential or the willingness of the individual and or the collective. Right? So what you need to do is assess who this change is affecting and how open they are to this change. So you're going to assess for there's 3 different states that you're going to find people. You're going to find them in the state of openness. So open is state 1. The second state is arrested. And the third state is closed. I'm going to explain the 3 states. So you're going to assess if we're open, arrested, or closed. So if you can imagine, if I'm open, then information is coming in, I'm absorbing, and I'm processing, and information is coming out. There's kind of like a flow that's coming in and out. If I'm arrested, it means there is a block. So information might be coming in, but it's not moving. Okay, so that means there are barriers. There's reasons, there's probably emotions that need to be navigated in order to move me from a state of arrested to a state of openness. And closed, nothing's coming in, nothing's going out. You can almost see it as like, I see it as like two walls, like nothing is moving and we're not even reaching. Okay. A lot more work needs to be done there, and the potential would really need to be assessed.
Mhm.
All right. So what is the status? Assess the status of the individual or the collective that the change is affecting. Sounds good?
Mhm.
Get that one down?
That one's down.
Get that one written on your piece of paper. So the potential or the willingness of the individual or the collective. Assess if they're open, arrested, or closed. The second condition is solutions are available. So even if I am open to a change, if I can't see a solution, I am not going to move towards that change. So we need to have available solutions to move towards. Pretty self-explanatory. I don't think that I need to explain that one any further.
No.
So solutions are available is number 2. And even make a list of solutions. Don't stop at 1. Solutions are available. 3 we're going to dive into a little bit deeper. Dissonance is present. It needs to hurt. And here I can bring in Kelsey Ann. So one, Kelsey Ann, let's go back to number 1. You're open.
Mhm.
Sometimes you're arrested.
Mhm.
Which means we have to navigate some of the blocks to get you back into the state of openness. 2, solutions are available. So I make available solutions to you that you can engage in. And 3, dissonance is present. It needs to hurt. You need to come to the conclusion that doing it in this way is not working and it hurts in order to want to do it a different way. So sometimes we need to shine a spotlight on the pain in order for the individual to say, yeah, this is really painful. I don't want to do this anymore. Often in my work, I will hear, well, it's not ideal, but it's kind of, it's okay. We've always done it this way. And it's, we're not really ready to make this a priority because it doesn't hurt enough. If we're comfortable with the discomfort, we're going to keep engaging with the discomfort. This can be uncomfortable as the person leading change because we don't want to tip people's scales. We don't really want them to react. We are afraid of that reaction, except that if we don't feel the uncomfortableness, we're not going to move. And that's just true of us as humans. You're not going to do anything different until it's painful enough. You don't start losing weight until you look in the mirror and you say, well, I don't really like what I'm seeing. And sometimes you kind of don't like what you're seeing, but you still keep the bad habits or the habits that are creating this situation until it reaches a point where you're like, whoa, it hurts enough for you to start doing something different. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Okay, so for all of you listening, give me a thumbs up or drop it makes sense if you're getting me here. We do not enjoy being in the pain, but being in the pain is part of the transition.
Mhm.
Navigating that pain and the fear and the judgment and the frustration that's going to come out of that pain. We need to be able to navigate these emotions as they're coming. We're going to feel them, and our employees are going to feel them as well.
Mhm.
And it's okay. Pain is okay. Number 4, the barriers are identified and managed. So all of the objections that you hear, the but, or the fear or the frustration, they're all because we're seeing threats and obstacles. We're perceiving them. So if you would just want to say, hey, don't worry about it. You don't have to be afraid, or you don't have to feel frustrated, or don't worry about that. And you want to keep trucking along and not address these things. Well, just the fact that this is in your employees' minds, it's an obstacle to them to engage with this. So you need to be able to slow down and look at these things and come up with a way to, one, you have to identify them. So that means you're going to have discussions around what are the obstacles, and then come up with a plan. And bonus points if you do this with your employees. Doing it behind a closed door is actually not going to be helpful, because your employees, those obstacles are still living in their minds. So part of planning to manage the obstacles, it's actually helping them move it and create a path in their mind to move forward. Number 5, insights. So it's great if we have the potential, we know the solutions, we feel enough pain, and we have taken away the barriers, but we need insight. We need to know what's happened in the past. Why are we going through change? What went wrong? And what's possible? What's on the other side? What are the opportunities? So really diving into the why. The retrospectives are give people a reason.
Sorry, you had frozen up there on me.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if I froze for everyone.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
All right. So draw out the meaning, use your retrospectives. Have these conversations. Meaning and purpose is part of motivation. So if you want people excited to be part of this change, give them a reason. And get the understanding so you know where and how. Draw lessons from the past, which gets us to number 6. So if we go back one step, Kelsey Ann, your understanding why, how you've been in the past as an employee and as a teacher is not working as a leader. So you are drawing insights, and you're drawing insights into what's possible as you're moving through this. And number 6 is consolidation and support. We have a tendency of seeing change as a stop this, start this. And it's just one day, we're just going to change.
Well, yes, that's how it works, right?
But that's not how it works. It's a transition. And the fact is, when we look at change, we're not stopping everything and starting completely new. We're stopping some things, but we're keeping some stuff, because not everything was a problem. Once we've had that insight that I just talked about, we've been able to see what was the problem. Of all of these things we've identified, these are the things that we're changing, but this piece is staying the same. This is a good foundation. So we want to bring that piece, what's stable and what's going to remain the same, into the future, and we want to consolidate it with the new. And I'm trying to see if would be an example, a visual example here on my brain. So, I'm just seeing business cards floating around here. So imagine most of the business card stays the same, and we're just removing and we're adding something new. So this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But as we're transitioning to this happening, we are going to hit some roadblocks. We're going to have feelings. We are going to see that, oh, maybe this piece is not going to work exactly how I intended it to work. Maybe the theory doesn't really match completely the actual practice of doing it this new way. So there is a transition. There's going to be up and down as you're implementing. So what you want to do is create this support before, during, and after the transition to really lock it in. That means you're going to be walking with people through this transition. You're not just going to say, change this. It's not going to be enough. So you're going to have to continue having touch points and navigating this change all the way through. That support can look like many different things. And depending on your environment, depending on the type of change, depending on the people involved, the systems that are in place, that answer of how you would be supporting and consolidating would be different.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that would be definitely customized based on your circumstances. But it could look something like this. I'm just going to give you an example to really bring it into your mind. And maybe even the example of Kelsey Ann and I, as she's going through this process of change, of transition, we are having conversations about it every week. I keep coming back to asking her questions. When she faces challenges, I go back to coaching, mentoring, training,
Mm-hmm.
and I give her lots of opportunities to develop the skills. So I didn't just say one day, Kelsey Ann, you're taking on a leadership role here. I'm supporting her all the way through. So on Mondays, we get to talk, we get to debrief about the week before.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a retrospective that happens on the Mondays. There are classes like tonight, we have a unlocking EQ class. So she's diving into some of these concepts. She's also participating in some leadership development classes that I'm offering and programs that I'm offering. And we're debriefing on that. But it's a constant touch point. And one day, Kelsey Ann, you're going to realize that you're on the other side and you're going to be like, wow, look at everything I've learned.
Mm-hmm.
And not just what I've learned, but how I am practicing my leadership.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, that's what the goal is.
So 6 conditions. I'm going to recap them, but before I do, Kelsey Ann, what stands out to you from all of these conditions? And as you're thinking about your own change, and I'm inviting all of you to also do the same, what's standing out for you right now?
It's always interesting to me to experience what you do and then for you to explain what you do. Because then I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. I can see how she's been doing step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, and step 6. Like I can see it. I guess for me, what's sticking out to me now is like the support part, the consolidate and support, because of the changes that we've undergone in our business. We are looking at kind of all of these individual pieces, and we're like, you want my insights, you want the information from me, and you're open to discussing, okay, does this piece really matter? Do we have to continue doing it this way? How can we change it? So I appreciate that, and I also appreciate your willingness to do work sessions with me, because I find them very useful. We get on a Zoom call, and we're very, we have certain blocks of time in our week blocked off for certain tasks. Sometimes it's just a general work session of whatever is kind of pressing right then and there. Sometimes it's a specific work session for X. And that is very useful, because then both you and I can kind of plan and prep our time for anything that needs to be, we have something I feel supported, because I know, okay, at any point in time, that this is coming up, that I can get your attention right away. The fact that we use Voxer, to me, that is, so for anybody who is unfamiliar with Voxer, it's an app, but it's a walkie-talkie app. So it's really fun to use a walkie-talkie app, number one, and I think we all need more fun, and why not have more fun at work? And I like it because it's a dedicated channel to you of work. It's not on Messenger. It's not in email. It's one channel that I know that I can kind of go back. There's tidbits there that, you'll drop here and there, and same thing, vice versa. That open line of communication and support for me really works well. And I think it works really well for the other team member, Sandra. So like it's these little pieces, but they all kind of come together to make that support. And I, again, didn't realize it until really reflecting here now, how all of those pieces are intentionally worked into,
every
when we
day.
meet.
It doesn't feel
Our
like
everyday.
add-on, it's just part of how we operate. So I've constructed these pieces so they're working for us, and they're giving us that consolidation and support.
Absolutely. And the fact that I'm kind of transitioning and beginning my leadership role, quote unquote, the right way, or like the way that feels more authentic with a practice and not forcing, doesn't feel like really difficult, that this is just now going to come naturally, and it's going to be kind of woven into the way that I proceed and move forward. To me, I'm really looking forward to that, because like I said, when you explain the 6 steps, I'm sitting here reflecting, and I'm smiling going, okay, that's how she does it. Like, that's her secret sauce.
How,
That's
how
her
do you
secret
feel?
recipe.
How does this new way of doing it feel? What would you like to change? What worked well? What are the obstacles in your way? How can we manage those obstacles? What do you need from me? You as leaders, hopefully you are familiar with those types of questions, but it's using them consistently and at the right time, and making that part of your language. Instead of telling people to change, ask them about their process of change, and be an ally and a partner in that process of change. Do it with them. Don't impose it on them. So I'm going to recap those for especially those who are taking notes. Okay. I'm going to quickly recap 1 through 6. 1, is having the potential and willingness of the individual or collective. In this step, you are assessing their openness, if they're a state of open, arrested, or closed. Number 2 is solutions are available. So there is a way that we can solve this problem. 3, dissonance is present. You need to feel some pain. Pain, anger, frustration are all emotions that can actually give us the emotional energy to move through with change. So you can leverage that. Barriers are identified and managed. Not just the barriers that you're perceiving, but the barriers that are perceived of the individuals who are going through that change. Insights are emerging, insights about why we're doing this, what went wrong in the past, and what is possible for the future. And then finally, we are number 6, consolidating and supporting before, during, and after the period of change. I feel so good to share this. I'm like, oh, yeah. So when it comes to change, this is a phase. This is not a one and done. And my hope for today is that you are walking away with some insights of your own and things that you can start implementing. Okay, things that you can start practicing. So if you're feeling frustrated with change, look at your situation and the individuals and the environment around these individuals and assess these 6 conditions and see which 1 or 2 of these conditions you could be working on to help the process of change. So it was fantastic to share that with you today. I will leave you with a couple of announcements. So one, I am speaking today. I'm facilitating adventures. So that is an event once a month that happens, hosted by Glassr Canada. So today the host will be Maureen Craig McIntosh, who is the president of Glassr Canada, also my mentor. So I have the pleasure of having trained with Maureen over the past 5 years. It's been wonderful and it keeps happening. And I'm the guest speaker. And today we're talking about trust. And you know what? Trust is part of change, right? Are people open to it? Well, do they trust the change? Do they trust you? Do they trust this environment? Do they trust this system or this organization? So trust is a really important piece of getting people meeting condition number 1, which is a state of openness.
Definitely.
So if you are interested in that, it is not being recorded. So you have to show up live if you want to be part of it. I'm saying it's not being recorded now. My mind's going, I think somebody was going to record it, but normally they're not. So I'm not sure. But if you want to be part of it, it's happening today, 12 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Atlantic. You have to message me if you want to join, because this is normally reserved for members of Glassr Canada. All right. So contact me if you would like to get a special invitation and be part of it. Number 2, second announcement. We've been working on our strategic planning, and one thing has become very evident is prices are going up next year. So if you've been sitting on the fence, wanting to work with me, unsure, maybe about timing, now is the time to lock in your prices for 2022. So if you have been thinking about that is something that you want next year, make sure that you schedule a time to talk with me this year before the end of December. If we talk this year and you book for next year, you'll get the 2022 pricing. So we'll grandfather you in at that pricing. So I just want to make sure that if you were interested, pull the trigger now. Let's talk and we can make plans for you for next year, but at this year's pricing. So that's it for the announcement today. Anything else you want to add, Kelsey-Ann, before we close out?
Well, for anyone who might be struggling through change, and use these, but they really identify, oh my goodness, this is much bigger than I needed, or than I thought, I should say. The fact that you offer free consultations, that they might be able, to book into your calendar and touch base with you and kind of, yes, they have these, they've looked at it, but they could kind of get a deeper dive with you if they're really stuck on that. Because to hear some of the wins that people have shared after their consult is really exciting, that they're not a client, they're just, all they did was have, it's not whatever it is, that the consult, they got such nuggets that they took away and they implemented and they practiced, and the changes that have kind of rippled out from that is worth, if you're, if any leader is out there struggling, you are there, just a
And it's the
consult away.
customization piece. It's looking at who you are as a leader, right? Working with your leadership style, working with the person, the people, right? The uniqueness of your team, and also the uniqueness of your environment and the norms around you. So there's no answer that's exactly the same. It's always customized based on these conditions.
And that's,
So-
I think, something to stress, because they get a flavor in the consultation, but the fact that you take, a really deep dive and you want to understand, and you're not taking a certain strategy and implementing it for everybody. You customize it and make it applicable. And that's awesome.
Right.
And we have
It's time.
It's time.
I need to get going.
Yes.
For my next client. But thank you everyone for watching. Drop your insights, what you're taking away from today's live training, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.